All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Caleb Hale with the SIU Alumni Association. We're sorry we were trying to take this event live on our Facebook page today, but Facebook was not having it, not agreeing with us. So we're doing a recording. But I'm here with Greg Wendt, who has done a documentary that's going to be airing on WSIU tonight, Thursday, December 10th, for the first time. And he had done a documentary regarding SIU's early response to the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly pertaining to some of the testing needs that were out there during the early days of this situation. So what I'm going to do is have Greg introduce himself and talk a little bit about what started the project. Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Caleb. So yes, I'm Greg, or Gregory Wendt, and I've been, in terms of the Alumni Association, I did graduate from SIU with a master's degree in 1998 from the College of Mass Communication and Media Arts. The degree was called Telecommunications at the time. And almost since that time, I've been working at SIU. I did a little bit of work in the broadcasting service, doing some camera work for a while, and then wound up with a full-time job in instructional support services, which is now called Center for Teaching Excellence, or CTE. And in that position, I do various types of videos, mostly instructional throughout the university. Any department can call upon me to make a video for use in the classroom or related matters. So in terms of the video that you can watch tonight on WSIU-TV at 8:30, basically I had read an article by Tim Crosby from University Communications talking about how a department in the plant biology unit was making this substance called viral transport medium, which was a critical testing ingredient for COVID-19. And this was back in early April. And as soon as I heard about that, I said, well, this is the biggest thing happening in this century, and I need to document this. My job is documenting things on video. So I said, this is perfect. And I just ran over to Scott Hamilton Brem's lab and asked him if I could document this. And he was like, yeah, sure, we should. And we had to take care of some safety protocols and get a couple of approvals, but off we went from that point on. And that was early April.
Yeah, and the background on this is that SIU had kind of converted some of its lab space to basically developing a solution that was a critical component in some of the COVID-19 testing kits that the state desperately needed at that point. So it wasn't a large lab that Scott Brem and his colleagues were working in. It was pretty much just a converted space that they made work, and essentially they produced several. How many in the end? How many vials did they end up actually delivering?
So over the course from early April into early June, a little less than 2 months, they produced 115,000 vials of the VTM at a rate of 10,000 per week. And the VTM is the substance, whenever you get a swab up the nose, that swab immediately has to be put into a test tube with a certain type of substance, very specific, that preserves whatever is on that swab. So that's what they were producing, that little liquid, and doing it very manually in the beginning. So that first 10,000 was extremely difficult, but as they got their systems rolling, they were able to get more efficient, and ultimately produced 115,000 vials, which basically kept the state or helped keep the state afloat with the testing, because I found out later the state only had 500 doses of this on hand when the coronavirus hit, because it's not commonly used. So this was a pretty big thing, and especially in that early stage of the pandemic.
Okay. All right. Well, if you do, you've got a couple clips that you were going to show us here. So if you want, go ahead with the first clip. And what are we going to see here?
Okay. Well, let's see. So the film is going to air tonight. So I will just show, I'll start with just the beginning. I'll show, say, 2 minutes of the beginning, and you get a sense of the bigger picture of the unit. And then we can talk about different clips if we want to feature students or several alum were involved or now recent alum. So I'll just start with the beginning and then give a little taste of that. And then we could move on to a couple of other clips. So let's go here and we're going to go there, share. And I'll play that, close that.
COVID-19, the defining worldwide phenomena of 2020. The novel coronavirus pandemic has affected the entire planet. Hundreds of thousands dead, millions sickened, economies shattered.
Travel into the European Union is being severely restricted to contain the spread of the coronavirus.
Future generations will wonder, how did the leaders of the time respond? Who stepped up to help? Who made a difference? Shortly after shutting down countries in Europe and Asia, the corona...
Okay, I'm pausing the share. Let's see if I go back to, how do I go back to just the video here?
I think you just said stop sharing.
I guess I'll stop share then. Okay. So that was just the open. And you may have heard the British accent on the narrator of someone I made friends with who was doing a comedy tour of all things throughout the US, the Midwest of the US. And I thought his voice would be great for this. And he was back in England and we were doing a lot of back and forth via Skype while he's recording the voiceover that I wrote. And I could actually direct him, like just change his tone this way or that way, have him speed up or slow down. It was really fun. I hadn't done that thing before. So that's kind of a new thing, I guess, during this time of coronavirus, to do so many things remotely. You wind up just learning how to do things differently. But the very last shot you saw, as you mentioned, Scott's lab is quite small. It's only designed for a handful of people, and it's certainly not designed for industrial scale operations. So it turns out that they used Scott's lab, they used Vyolsa Konjuvka's lab, and the Professor Jacody's lab. So they had 3 different labs, 2 in Life Science 3 and 1 in Life Science 2, all operating at, either simultaneously or in coordination, so that they could have different crews making the VTM in these different labs. And amazing grad students, in particular Trevor Murphy, who was helping run the labs, a master's student. He's coordinating a lot of efforts. A key undergrad who's now an alum, John Phoenix, jumped in, and he's actually now also working for the IDPH. And then we had volunteers, some of them alum. We even had a distributor of some of the products who's an SIU alum. So all of this will be brought out in the video. If you want, I could show a clip of how they make the VTM, or that gets explained.
Yeah, take us through some of that footage that you have, because I know you spent quite a bit of time in the lab.
Right. Okay. I want to go to the grad student who does such a great job of explaining this, and you'll also see what they're doing at the same time. So I'm going to share the screen again and go, where are we? There we are. And jump ahead a bit. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, this is Trevor Murphy. He's Scott's, he was Scott's right-hand man, as you'll hear in a moment.
Molecular biology.
I came here as an undergrad. I ended up working in the lab of Dr. Hamilton Bream, and throughout my tenure there, he invited me on to stay as a master's student.
Trevor has been Dr. Hamilton Bream's right-hand man from the beginning of the VTM efforts.
I do a lot of the volunteer coordination. I oversee a lot of the production stuff. I also do a lot of the formulation and dispensing of the media, as well as make sure it's all set up and ready to go to be shipped to Springfield.
this is where we have the autoclave. So everything needs to be sterilized. Sterilization means basically no living thing is going to survive it, not even spores, nothing. We need this in order to formulate this particular solution.
Students played a key role in making sure the production process stayed on track. From freshmen to seniors, from graduate students to research assistants, the desire to help and to learn was a powerful engine that was critical to fulfilling daily and weekly deadlines.
The average person doesn't know how much work it takes to create even 1,000 vials of this viral transport medium. There's a lot more labor that goes into it than people realize, and one person can't just say, okay, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna hammer it out. You're gonna get tired. You need groups of people who know what they're doing.
Okay, I think I'm going to pause it there. I don't want to reveal too much of the video before tonight when it airs, but
So overall, how much time did you spend in the lab as they were working on this process?
well, I would visit the lab usually 2 or 3, 4 times a week, depending on what was going on. And that lasted all the way from first or second week of April into the first or second week of June. So I would just come randomly sometimes, and then if I knew, for instance, if a shipment was going out that day, I would go there and make sure I captured them loading up the van with the shipment. So I went a couple of dozen times at least, and then I would also set up formal interviews with a number of people who would help tell the story. And then the other thing I did is I went to Springfield. Every single batch of this VTM had to be hand delivered in a van to Springfield, where they then take it, keep it in coolers there, and distribute it to all the different hospitals and testing sites throughout the state. So on one of those trips, I actually went up there to Springfield to see that part of the process and talk to some of the people there. And so that was a bigger trip. That was the only far distance I had to go. I work in the building in the library, so I just had to walk over to the lab every day. So it wasn't much of a journey most of the time. And then we also had Gary Mousey from the physical plant and service operations. He's a really good drone operator, and he did some of the drones, well, all of the drone work you see in the video. There's not a whole lot of it, but very important. So, and then the moving into the editing process, that's where it was really time consuming, because as I was filming this, I wasn't sure how was the story going to be told? How long will it be? What type of audience are we making this for? Is it for the whole world? Is it for Carbondale in particular, or SIU in particular? So ultimately, I thought this is a story that the whole world should know about. So I kind of put it in that context, but also brought it into a very local setting, because that's where it took place, right here at the university. And then struggled through the edit until finally coming to, I had a conversation with Broadcasting Services, and they have a half-hour time slot that they said they could probably make this work for. And so that's what I aimed for, and turned out to be a half-hour video. And yeah, that's.
I mean, how much footage in the end were you kind of working down from?
Hours-wise, maybe 5 hours of footage, about 1 terabyte of data. It's yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, but it was a lot. And it's just because the story was evolving, and I didn't have this, like, I didn't know this backstory immediately. Putting together the story, with documentaries, you kind of go back and forth with writing something and then finding out what you're even talking about. So there's a lot of that back and forth. And luckily, Scott and all the professors, Vielsa, Matt Geisler, Dr. Wood, the grad students, the undergrads, and the volunteers, all were so cooperative in letting me interview them, letting me come and point my camera as they're doing this very repetitive task. You know, having to mask up and be sanitary and not, you know, compromise what they're doing. So, but everyone was super cooperative, and they were so dedicated. I was just drawn to this because everyone was just doing this. You know, some people were getting paid, some people were not. You know, they just said, "Hey, this is something I should be doing," and the learning experience for everyone. You know, it's incredible that they were able to transform a teaching lab, a lab just usually used for experiments and teaching, into an operation that could actually produce something that was life-changing. Scott Hamilton Brem would often say that each of these tubes is somebody's life, you know, each one is going to represent whether someone has the virus or not. So.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole undertaking, it really does, it does speak to SIU's service mission in normal times, but also especially in times of need as well. And I know this was an example of the university really stepping up, using what it had to be able to produce something and in such quantities as they were able to. So it's good that you were able to document this this moment in the university's history as well. What are there any other projects or anything related to this that you'll be following up with or working on, or?
Well, I've been in conversations with particularly Dr. Gary Kinzel, who's the Vice Chancellor for Research, and he has a number of students who are working on interesting projects throughout the colleges. We don't have something locked in right now, but I think the big thing right now is trying to get more of the word out about this video, because it's obviously it's so contemporary and apropos to everything that's going on in the world, and the fact that SIU did something and is doing something about it. So I would probably want to investigate. I know there was someone who developed an app to track the virus at SIU, and there was also the Fermentation Institute developed, they actually made some hand sanitizer. So I'm going to look into following up with those efforts and see if I can come up with something. And then,
as you know, this is it's going to be airing for the first time. If you're watching this on Thursday, December 10th, it's going to be airing for the first time on WSIU television at 8:30 Central Time. Of course, if you're local, you could just tune in when it's live. If you're farther away and don't necessarily have the sorry, that's my wife's Christmas clock going off. But if you have the app, you can watch it pretty much from anywhere online as well after the air date. And there will be additional air dates that happen as well. So I'd urge everyone to look on WSIU online, see when the listings are ahead of time. Greg, is there anything else that you want to close with or add about the project or the experience?
Well, I just thought I'd show for the, since we have alumni, the most recent alumni, he went from a student to an alum during this process. I just wanted to show a short clip from him because he did play a key role, and it was such a great example of an undergrad taking on such big experience. And now this is a person representing the university. So I'll just show like about 1 minute of him, and then we can wrap it up. We're here. And we're going to go to 1713.
Labs, but support additional labs throughout the state.
Not long after getting the VTM project off the ground, John Phoenix was recruited to work at the Illinois Department of Public Health.
As a laboratory technologist, in which I do all of the COVID tests, and it's kind of funny because I see our media vials all the time. The ones that I was making in the lab are being distributed throughout the state and actually being used to test for COVID. So I'm at Heron Hospital right now. I'm in between working both of my jobs today. From 8 to 12 today in the morning, I was at the IDPH where we were performing COVID testing from facilities all across the state of Illinois. So there have been days where I'm in Scott's lab in the evening producing batches of media, and then we wrap it up for the night. I go to work at the hospital the next day. I see a previous batch of our media that needs to be processed and sent to the IDPH from the hospital. So I will fill out the requisition entries for the hospital, and then I'll go home from the hospital and the next day work at the IDPH and process my own samples that I just sent over. So I think if there was anyone to ask about the start to finish process of the COVID testing in Southern Illinois, I feel like I could provide you a thing or two about what's going on with the whole deal.
All right.
Having studied under Dr. Konjufka, Nita Shilova just graduated with.
Well, yeah, that definitely is an example of the type of work that was being done during that, and incorporating students and alumni as well. I think it's good that we were able to use our students who have sometimes as much expertise as anyone to make things happen and really fill a need that was there statewide or really statewide.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm very proud of SIU and all the people involved. And my role was just to document this and get it out there. And I'm just happy a lot of people can get to see this. And I'm sure we'll continue doing great work in the future.
Okay. Well, Greg, thank you very much for taking some time with us today. Again, you can see this on WSIU. If you're watching this on Thursday, it's tonight or Thursday, December 10th, it's tonight at 8:30 p.m. And then check WSIU, the WSIU website for subsequent listings on there and find out where you can watch it. Greg, thanks for joining us today, and you take care.
All right. Take care, Kyle. Thank you for having me.
All right.